Okay, let's just pull through with this and have some fun. Because I gotta say, first of all, sorry for 2 reasons. The first one is my sore throat. It's a little bit of a big issue than I expected. And the second thing is, maybe more so important, that I have a hard time talking properly these days and getting to the point, and I'm getting confused a little bit, but you'll see what I mean quite sure. But none of this changes the fact that the rules are pretty much the same, because I'm gonna review a headphone today. Actually a gaming headset, but it's close enough to keep the tradition alive that I'm wearing my Disturbed shirt, and that I'm also gonna make this review in just one take, even though I had already quite a few failed ones. It will be quite long, very informative, and it will at some point become a rambling. But this is because of the reason that this is not just a regular gaming headset review. Because I'm not just going to review the custom game from Beyerdynamic that I will call Game 1 maybe at some points, but I'm also going to review, this is going to be a dual review, and also a comparison with the MX 300 Generation 2 from Beyerdynamic. So there is a lot to say, and one thing that actually changed my opinion a little bit beforehand when I checked the prices is that I expected these to be $200, which they are pretty much, but these to be $300. But on Amazon I saw them for $350, so I'm not quite sure if this is the permanent price, but with a difference of $150, my opinion changes a little bit, because at $300, I gotta say one thing, just as a spoiler already up first. I maybe could sound not that impressed by the custom game, but this is not because they are not good. They are definitely really good, but just because I think the MMX 300 an amazing all round, and pretty much actually I think the best gaming headset in overall that I've had so far. That's why the difference might sound bigger than it maybe is, but I'll definitely get into all of that. So let's just start with the first thing where my confusion also starts, because we have, of course, in terms of packaging, the custom game. And here we have the MX 300, so let's put those aside. What is my confusion all about? Okay, let's get into all those cables, because when I have two devices of the same brand, sometimes I can mix things up, because this is where things start to get a little bit weird for me, because we have this 1.3 meter long cable, as you can see here, definitely high quality and all good. And here we can just attach the microphone part. And don't twist it, because this was my issue. I tried to do that. I thought it would be something to twist, but this is fine as it is, and therefore it wiggles a little bit. But we have this very flexible arm, which is nice. And here we can also already see the remote with a mute switch, a volume wheel, and a button that I'm not quite sure what it does, because I've never used it. So this is all fine. And this has a 3.5 millimeter plug at the other end to use it with maybe a console, or at least laptop. Now, the part that confuses me is the second cable that I think was actually included with the custom game, because this is, I think, 1.7 meters long, or even longer, not quite sure. You can correct me on that, but here is my confusion. We have here as well a remote with the same control sensor, with the 3.5 millimeter plug for the headphone, and on the other end we get the microphone jack and the headphone jack, but now I'm not quite sure where the microphone is actually, so maybe I missed an adapter here or something like that. So let me know in the comments, because I am not quite sure what I missed here. Let's put that aside and talk about the MX 300s, because with those you get, since they also cost more, a nice carrying pouch, nice soft shell. And hearing cables, I'm not that confused anymore, because we get also an extension in case you want to use them with your PC. It's about 90 centimeters long, as you can see here, microphone, headphone, and all this is fine. So this can be used if you want to use it. If you don't and just want to use it with your laptop or a console, you get this other cable, also 90 centimeters long. Quality is very good on all of them, very flexible, nice. Not braided, but it's fine. And also the same control once again. So this is where it is. Now let's talk about the headphones themselves and put the cables away. Let's start off with the custom game. Very nice, soft cushioning here at the top. In my opinion, the design is absolutely nice. Nothing to really complain. The cushions or the whole ear cup feels quite big, or looks quite big, but that is fine. Build quality is nice, because nice steel frame, very flexible. And of course, this could even be replaced quite easily, so all is good. You can also get some replacement caps. As you can see here, they are available in case you want to change that design, and you can also make your own if you want to. Other than that, sturdy design, really like that. Now about those ear cups, that is something very important to be talked about. I gotta say, I'm not 100% happy with these, because as you can see, the cutout is actually quite small, and that's why I would call them maybe a 3/4 of an over ear, because comparing them with the MX 300, you can see a lot of a bigger cutout. And therefore, at some point, this will touch at least at the top or at the bottom. And even though super thick and your ears won't touch inside and super soft and comfortable, you have to know if you like that. Other than that, what we also get on the custom game is this bass control knob. Because all the way up, you have the least amount of bass, and all the way down, more bass. What I gotta say, the first 2 steps I found to be a little bit too weak, and I found it a little bit too thin. So if you want all the way up, I would personally go for my sweet spot, which was the third one, because that one didn't feel thin, but it didn't have too much bass. In case you want more, you can just go all the way up. So that's it. So in terms of design and all that, really, really nice. And if you want maybe the feel of the MMX 300, you could just replace the ear cushions. This, in my opinion, should be not a problem. Now let's get to the MMX 300's Generation 2. As you can see here already, the microphone is fixed, which is actually maybe the better solution if you want a permanent solution for a headset and not just for a headphone, where I think then this one has a little bit of an advantage. But as you can see, you can place it and you can easily rotate it out of the way. So all good. Also, same soft cushioning. You can replace this as well. Same flexible design. They don't rotate or something like that, but they definitely give you enough wiggle room. Nice, sturdy build. So all is good here. And like I said already, bigger cutout. So here, this is a 100% over here. Nothing will touch, not on the inside. But what you will notice is that this is definitely way more stiff. But this comes with the benefit. If you use it in a warm environment, you won't sweat so much. But I would already say, let's get into the comfort and fit. Let me start off with the custom games. If I put these on, the first moment is absolutely amazing because they are so soft, and then you quickly notice though that they touch your ear at the bottom. So if that's something that bothers you, maybe check the other ear cushions or just check the MX 300s, because that was something that at first at least disturbed me a little bit, but after a while you get used to them and you can use these for hours and hours. I would not say at all that the clamping force is too much. Not at all. They are very comfortable at the top as well, and they also sit absolutely right because they don't move. The way you put them on is right, and due to this kind of little bit of a smaller cutout, actually your ears also stay always centered, which is good. So comfort for hours and hours is great. Now about the noise isolation, since you have this leather with a quite good seal, I don't think it's real leather, but it doesn't matter, you have actually quite good isolation towards the outside. So the passive isolation is good, leakage is normal for a closed bag, so very, very comfortable. But the MX 300 definitely put that up at least one notch, just because of the fact that they, at least what I prefer, surround my whole ear without touching at all. And then it just comes with the benefit that these ear cushions are out of velour, and therefore your ears won't heat up, because on the custom game, they will heat quite up a lot. But here it was way better. You have just more breathing space. The clamping force feels a little bit stiffer, but I guess that's maybe also due to the stiffer ear cushions. But also these sit just right, and they are super comfortable for hours and hours. But here I have to say, due to the circular ear cups and the cutouts, I gotta say here you have to actually be a little bit aware the way you have them on your ear, because if you have them all the way, because as you can see you can use them to the top and front, if you have them at the top you will lose quite some highs. All the way back it sounds a little bit weird, so try to keep them centered, but usually they stay that way. If I sometimes moved my head, they did sometimes move a little bit, but clamping force, like I said, is fine. Comfort, fit, all is very good, and I'm not quite sure what else to say. So very, very comfortable, but they touch your ears super, super comfortable, even for longer sessions, because they just feel actually a little bit less, you just notice them less. That's where I would leave it, and that's why I would say let's just go to the microphones, and I will give you both demos after, one or the other. Okay, so this now would be the updated version, or let's just call it what it is, the fixed version of the microphone test for the custom game one from Beyerdynamic. Because whatever I said in my initial review and whatever I'm going to say later on, just forget that, because this is also the reason why I took that video off of YouTube, because I messed up. I used the laptop to record the audio and not like I usually do my Zoom H1 recorder, and just after a few comments and noticing that something isn't right, I redid the test, and then I actually just noticed of how much better the sound is if you use a proper audio recording device, which is what I'm using right now. The good things are still intact about the custom game microphone, because with the flexible arm you can still position it wherever you want to, and then you get a clean sound and not a muffled one like I will complain later on and like I did in my initial review, because the sound actually is very clean. Very good audio quality, nice body to it, and with the positioning of the arm you can just choose on your side if you want it a little bit more natural or if you want a little bit more body to it. One thing though still exists, which is a little bit of an issue, which is the picking up of breathing noises and also P sounds, as you will hear right now. So this still is a little bit of an issue, but other than that, the quality is really, really good. And now let's check the noise cancellation with using an MX Brown switch and later on a mouth, followed by some seconds of silence. And silence. And this, of course, now as well is already the updated version of the microphone test for the MX300 Generation 2. So same as on the custom game, forget whatever I said in my initial review and forget whatever I'm going to say later on in this review. All that matters about the microphone's qualities is whatever I'm going to say right in this part. And as you can already hear, by using a proper recording device, like I'm doing now with my Zoom H1, you will get an absolutely top-notch microphone. Great clarity, and with the flexible arm, you still have the same benefits as on the custom game one, which allows you to get a little bit more body to it, but you have the amazing clarity that I complained about not being there, but the sound being actually muffled with my previous review where I used a laptop to record the sound. So in case you use that, you will have to live with that issue. If you use though a proper sound card or a recording device, as you can already hear, the sound here is absolutely top notch. The clarity is great, there is no hiss at all, and unlike on the custom game, we don't have the downsides of having too much pickup of P sounds and also breathing noise, as you can hear right now. So I'm pretty sure it's quite obvious that this pretty much is the very best headset microphone, and I'm a little bit unfortunate that I have messed up the first part where the microphone didn't get all the appreciation that it deserves, because as you can hear, it is an absolutely top-notch, high-quality, flawless microphone if you use it with the proper recording device. And now let's continue on with a few seconds of some MX Brown switches and mouse clicks. And some seconds of silence. Okay, so let's get into the sound. Let's start off with that, and I would like to talk about the sound stage first on the custom game. Here I gotta say, actually, the sound stage isn't all that big. It's at best medium, actually quite a little bit narrowing down. And for games where we want to start it, I would say I actually have to say that the location of footsteps and so on doesn't work amazing. It works really good because after all, this is talking on a high level, but just in comparison with the MX300, you just notice that you can't really tell the differences, the separation and so on, so much of your enemies, because you can kind of get where they are, but you don't quite feel how far they are away and where exactly. So this kind of is a little bit mushy, I would say, because it felt a little bit harder for me to actually locate enemies. Like I said, on a really good level. After all, this is like $200, so it provides a good sound, but the sound, like I said, is a little bit smaller. It's definitely very good for action games, so especially if you put it all the way up to the bass side, you will get definitely more bass than you get with the MX300s. And for action games, it's great, and it will give you an absolutely amazing experience after all. But I think, especially with wired solutions, there are better ones in terms of locating. So not the biggest fan of that. Now, if we talk about the MX300s, things completely change. Because here I gotta say, the soundstage is actually quite a big one for a closed headphone. Usually I would expect that for an open or at least a semi-open. So definitely above the average in terms of a wider soundstage. And I gotta say, the soundstage is amazing. Because if you play games like CSGO, you feel like you have really a surrounding effect and like you are in a bubble, but in that bubble you are the master, because you can super precisely hear where they are. And the great thing is actually what I've never experienced before, you can actually feel the distance, and I really mean feel the distance of enemies and also exactly where they are. It's kind of like they are in your head and you expect to know, okay, he's behind me about that far away, it's exactly that position. And this was very impressive the first time that I've used it. Okay, on the bass side they are a little bit weaker, but the great thing is they have a very great bass extension. So the bass is not overly emphasized, but the bass itself is very precise, detailed, and it will give you definitely more than enough for all kind of gun sounds. If you want the extreme action for games like Doom and so on, this could sound a little bit more impressive, but this will definitely give you the way better surround feeling, and you are really in the middle of the game. And I gotta say, this is the best experience that I had for gaming so far. Now, I hope that was good enough for gaming, otherwise just let me know in the comments, but I would like to go already a little bit into the sound for music. And here I gotta say, for about $200, there are definitely better solutions than the custom game. Because I would say what was a little bit weird, that the bass in many situations actually was uncontrolled. It felt like it didn't know what quite to do. It felt quite wobbly. It plays quite deep, and the bass usually is quite good, but this little bit of uncontrolled behavior was weird. If you, like I said, use the bass controls, it sounds too weak, or just right with the third step, I would say. But the overall sound was a little bit weird, because the bass actually quite good. The mids, I think that's maybe a typical thing of Beyerdynamic, at least the ones that I've tried so far, are a little bit recessed. Highs are quite clear, detailed, and all that is good, and you get a high quality sound. But here, no matter which setting I used, they never sounded 100% neutral or the way I wanted to. Especially vocals and the overall sound around was a little bit weird. It felt like the whole music was in a little bit of a jello. So where mids and highs are a little bit weird, and I just couldn't really get impressed. Once again, this is on a very high level. They sound really good, but I think you can get better ones if it's mostly for music like these. So, and of course, once again, in comparison, especially a direct comparison with the MMX 300, they fall quite short. Because if I use these for music, this is what I wanted for a long time. When I started making headset reviews, I said I want a headset that is just about as good for music as it is for games, and this one exactly fits that. Because the bass, amazing bass extension, it goes very deep. Like I said, the bass isn't overemphasizing, so it's not too much, but it is an absolutely top-notch bass. Very controlled, very neutral though, which is the actual whole sound signature, because highs, very clear, very high, and detailed. They don't go too far up. Sometimes they can a little bit be harsh, but usually not. The mids, like I said though, and this is just something I personally prefer to be a little bit more emphasized. Vocals. Vocals are a little bit inside the instruments, or maybe also a little behind the curtain. So if you want to have your vocals a little bit emphasized, to listen more to them like I prefer, for example, on the Yamaha MT5 that I've reviewed, this is not quite it. If you want them at least on the same stage or a little bit behind, you will get a great experience, because the mids are still good, like I said, a little bit recessed, highs are clear, and the overall sound is so nicely balanced in terms of a natural sound that is still pleasant to hear though. And like I said, bass, not overemphasized, but that bass goes very deep, very precise, and it usually never feels like it would lag. It never feels thin at any point, but it feels a little bit warm sometimes actually, which is quite nice to see. So these are an amazing all-rounder. So not just for gaming, absolutely. I would say this is the best gaming experience that I've had. In terms of precision, in terms of spatial awareness and locating people and like that. This was amazing. But also for music top. It's maybe not particularly amazing for one genre. It's a really great all-rounder. You can listen to dubstep with that. Of course, there are some that just deliver more bass. But here, just due to the deep bass, it really knows to deliver. But you can listen to all of it. Metal, maybe not quite my first choice, because I prefer the vocals a little bit more there. But for pop, classic, and this works for everything. So I would say it's time for the summary. Custom game. In terms of packaging and overall what you get is definitely more than enough. The microphone sounds still decent, especially if you find the right position. They are very comfortable for a long period of time. So I cannot complain. Gaming experience, like I said, was still really good. But I think for 200, you should maybe actually go for these, because really good for music also, but there are better solutions in this price point. Yes, I know. The MX 300 Generation 2 are noticeably significantly more expensive, at least $100, if not maybe even $150. But I actually think if you are already willing to spend $200, you should spend the extra for these, because it is not just a little bit better, not just one level like maybe the microphone, which I think is actually more like 2 levels better. This in general is, so far from what I've reviewed, just the best overall headset, because usually I have to make compromises. Either it's not maybe that much for gaming, maybe it's not that much that great for the microphone, or the comfort isn't good. But this one, amazing fit. Like I said, a little bit of some wiggle room. You can use it in warm environments because it won't heat up. It will sit all the time right. The microphone is really good, especially once you find the sweet spot for you. So you can use them for hours and hours, and you can use them for hours and hours for whatever you want to. If you want to play games with the best possible experience, great spatial awareness, and still get a nice amount of bass, so nothing is lacking. It's maybe not made for action, super impressive gaming, more like for detailed gaming, but yeah, I guess most people want that. And then it is still an amazing all-rounder for music. And usually what you could do, of course, maybe is buy two separate ones. Headphones. One maybe just for gaming, or just one for music, which then would pretty much get you to the same price. So yes, you have to spend more. And this is definitely quite expensive, but I think the quality makes up for it definitely in all ways. You get all the extra cables, and you get just pretty much the best all-in-one solution. You just have these, and you can pretty much, if you are quite demanding user, use these for everything. Of course, there are people who always have something very specific, because I, for example, could use one headphone for this kind of music, one for this, then this for gaming and so on. But that definitely comes with the territory of being a headphone geek. Then you make these things. But if you just are willing to spend, and if you want pretty much the best available on the market, this is it. And that's why, even though the difference is quite big and this sounds like a very good thing, I'm just not quite convinced of that. Yes, they are really nice, but I would not spend 200 for these, because it didn't 100% feel right what I wanted to. The MX 300 though did, especially in Germany, where the price difference is just 100 euros. Yeah, 50% more, but way more than 100% better, in my opinion, way better. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. I hope I gave you all the details. In case you want more, just leave me some comments down there below. But I gotta say, I would definitely wish to keep these, but they have to go back. Super nice, super nice. Okay, yeah, that was it. I hope you liked it. Thumbs up, maybe a subscription. Other than that, I have more gaming headset reviews coming up in the future. Quite soon, actually. Okay, until next time.